Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I will be talking about Warriors of the Wasteland, a 1983 Italian offering that is clearly desperate to ride on the coattails of the international hit Mad Max 2, or as it was known in the United States, The Road Warrior. And this film presents a world that has been devastated by nuclear holocaust. In the post-apocalyptic wasteland left behind, a gang of leather-clad men terrorizes and kills anyone who tries to rebuild. Unlike the Great Humongous' black-clad minions, however, these are the Templars, a pseudo-religious society who believe that their mission is to bring about the end of humanity and return the Earth to an unpopulated state. Their plans are about to hit a snag, however. Scorpion, a man who was once a member of their organisation, returns to the region and thwarts them from killing a young woman. Now, the Templars are not about to take such interference lightly, of course. They consider Scorpion not just a traitor to their cause, but also a mere bandit, and they set out to wreak vengeance upon him. Even with the help of the bombastic bow-wielding warrior Nadir, can Scorpion really stand against the entire might of this organised and fanatical paramilitary organisation? So like a lot of Italian films of this era, this movie can be found under a couple of different titles. The literal translation of the movie's original Italian title is The New Barbarians. And if you look for the movie on Wikipedia, that's the name you're going to find it under. IMDb, however, uses Warriors of the Wasteland, and that's also the title that I saw it under, so it's the one I've gone with. Whatever the name, this is another cheapy post-apocalyptic offering from Enzo Castellari, whose film 1990 The Bronx Warriors I discussed back in May of this year. Castellari said that both of these films, plus a third, Escape from the Bronx, were written, prepared and filmed within 6 months, which is an impressive feat, but of course it probably helped that the three movies, or at least the two I've seen, all take, shall we say, extensive inspiration from better known, and frankly just much better, films in the genre. 1990 The Bronx Warriors took a lot of impetus from Escape from New York, and as already noted, for this film there's a great debt owed to this dystopic adventures of Max Rokitansky. Now, taking extensive inspiration from another film doesn't necessarily make for a bad movie. I mean, I only just discussed The Faculty, which is built entirely on the foundations of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But the key thing about The Faculty is that it did build on those foundations. This movie has no such ambition. Like some post-apocalyptic bandit, it's content to squat in the burned-out shell of past glories. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to talk about, so let's dive in. So, obviously Scorpion is the film's protagonist, and he's played by Italian actor Giancarlo Prete under the anglicised name Timothy Brent. Prete was a prolific actor in Italian cinema, who also had occasional supporting roles in US productions, such as the film Ladyhawke and the Emmy-winning TV miniseries War and Remembrance. Unlike Mark Gregory from 1990 The Bronx Warriors, then, he was not a film neophyte thrown into a major role purely on the basis of his looks. But despite his experience and presumably ability, he's simply not a compelling lead in this film, and I see three main factors contributing to this. First, Scorpion is simply not that compelling a character. He's clearly intended to fill the same taciturn, angry at the world, but still hanging on to a shred of nobility anti-hero archetype of Mad Max, but the writing simply doesn't deliver on that. Second, there's the English dubbing of his voice. I'm not sure who provided it, but it's probably not him, and it's entirely wrong for the role. Third, and perhaps most important, Prete Scorpion has to share the screen with Fred Williamson's Nadir, and this is a very unequal battle. Now, there have been some worrying stories about Williamson's off-screen behaviour, particularly in recent years, but there's no denying that he had plenty of on-screen charisma and a willingness to throw himself into any role, regardless of the overall quality of the project. His bombast is far more watchable and engaging than the subdued performance we get for Scorpion. The film also looks bad, and I guess that's to be expected given its budget, but it also looks bad because it makes bad choices in design. For instance, the Templars drive white vehicles and wear white outfits. In a grimy, dusty, desert-style apocalypse, this is a conspicuously bad idea. I mean, I suspect the choice of white was a deliberate stylistic variation from the black leather of the Mad Max films, but it does immediately and repeatedly raise the question of, how do they keep all this stuff so clean? Then there's Scorpion's gear. Despite what the film apparently thinks, sticking Perspex bubbles on your car doesn't make it look more cool or more menacing. In fact, coupled with Scorpion's own clear plastic body armour, presumably chosen to show off his muscly torso, the general effect is to look rather camp, which is, I suspect, not the intended result. And the mistakes also extend to the sound design. The team has gone for lots of electronic sounding whirs and buzzes, presumably in the belief this will convey a sense of being high tech. It doesn't really work. It's hard to find the Templars intimidating when they all drive around in buggies that sound like cheap sewing machines. Mind you, many of the vehicles seem as flimsy as cheap sewing machines, so even if they had the growl of a big turbocharged V8, it probably wouldn't be very convincing. Then there's the murky question of why is all this conflict happening? I mean, okay, we know why the Templars are running around murdering everyone. They're basically a bunch of crazies who are fully on the nihilistic death cult bandwagon. But what's motivating Scorpion to come back and deliberately put himself back on their priority to kill list? Is it heroism? The character explicitly denies that. Is it revenge? Well, there is some intimation that the Templar leader may have sexually assaulted Scorpion, though the film keeps this quite vague. It was the 1980s, of course, and you could demonise homosexuality all you like, but you certainly couldn't have a male action hero who'd been the subject of rape. I suspect the only real reason that Scorpion faces off with the Templars is because he's the main character of the movie and that's his job, which, is accurate, but that kind of out-of-fiction Doylist justification doesn't really make for a satisfying narrative. At the end of the day, Warriors of the Wasteland probably did the job it was supposed to do, which is make a bit of money for its producers. Given how cheaply it was obviously made, it would have been hard not to do so under the economic patterns of cinema in that time. But as a work of entertainment, well, pretty much the only thing it has going for it is Fred Williamson's over-the-top performance as Nadir. Next time, I said there'd be more horror in October, and here it comes, the independent Canadian production Christina's House from 2000. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've seen today's movie, let me know what you thought of it.